Niĩ no ngatho nyingĩ mũno ingiuga kwĩ Rotary, nyingĩ ndangĩhota gũtarĩria.
Na andũ a Rotary nĩ magiĩ na gũtũteithia, magĩtũbundithia maũndũ maingĩ.
Gĩkundi kĩa Rotary tũkĩrwo tũgerie kwandĩka proposal tuone kana no tuone kĩ, no tuone maĩ.
The cost of the project, as we start now, is slightly more than $500 million Kenya shillings.
Tunyuagĩra maĩ o hakuhĩ tutegũthĩnĩka.
Since it was founded more than 100 years ago, the Rotary Foundation has spent more than $4 billion on life-changing sustainable projects. Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of Tagline, where we unveil Rotary District 9212. I am your host, Rotarian Caroline Giro. Today we are having a project edition and we are in Nakuru County, Kenya. Our journey in Nakuru takes us to the heart of the project, in Elementaita, which is home to the renowned Lake Elementaita.
The 60 project, when we began, we really focused on rainwater harvesting. But to do rainwater harvesting, we felt that it's important, beneficial to address the environmental issue, the tree planting. Then there was issue of sanitation and waste management. So toilets and tree planting and tank building and training were the central. Later on, we added an aspect of trading or table banking to it. And that consists of 5 activities that compose the 16. And the idea was, when the beneficiaries are being able to address the 5 activities, or the 5 T's, their life will be transformed.
We sit down with the first ever beneficiary, Jelioth Nyawera.
Rotary Kirabu magiũkire tũkĩnyitana nao magĩtwĩra nĩ twagĩrĩire twĩcirie ũhoro wa maĩ tondũ gũkũ kwĩna thĩna mũnene wa maĩ. O ũguo tũcokanĩrĩire twambĩrĩrie gũcanga mbeca nĩgetha twakĩrwo matangi. Rĩu Rotary Kirabu magĩtwĩra tũrĩgũraga mũthanga na kagoto na handiko. Alafu kũrĩa tũkarĩha 5,000. Na thĩinĩ wa gĩkundi kĩu gĩakwa-rĩ, hĩndĩ ĩrĩa andũ maiguire nĩ matangi tũrenda gwakĩrwo-rĩ, andũ nĩ mokire.
As we speak with her, she shares poignant memories of life before and after the project. Jelioth holds a unique place in the history of the initiative as the first recipient of a 10,000-litre water tank and economic empowerment training when the project began in 2002.
Maĩ twagĩraga o kĩrimũ kilomita 3, kuma haha nĩ kilomita 3. Na maĩ macio-rĩ nĩ rũĩ, na nĩ rũĩ rwa hĩndĩ ya kĩmera, rĩrĩa mbura yoira. Gwakĩa-rĩ rũkahũa. Rĩu rũĩ rũu-rĩ, ng'ombe ithiaga kũu ikanyua maĩ, bunda, nginya ngui ta ici nĩ nyota wa maĩ. Na kũu nĩkuo twathiaga tũkataha maĩ. Rĩu mũndũ okagĩra rũcinĩ tene, ũgakua mwana na mũtũngi na kabũyũ ũgateng'era nginya kĩrimũ, gĩtagwo kĩrimũ. Rũĩ kũrĩa kũngĩ twagĩraga maĩ Ndaramĩya, nakuo kũu kwĩ maĩ mega. Nakuo nĩ kilomita 5, kuma haha gũthiĩ Ndaramĩya nĩ kilomita 5. Nakuo kũu nĩkuo twathiaga, na ũgũthiĩ na kamũtũngi kamwe tondũ ndũngĩhota ĩrĩ, ũkaigĩrĩra kabũyũ igũrũ. Ndaramĩya nĩ atũhete maĩ haha, na maĩ macio atũhete nĩ ma cumbĩ. Nĩ maĩ matangĩnyuĩka tondũ me cumbĩ. Rĩu maĩ macio-rĩ no kũhũra tũhũraga nguo namo na kũhe ng'ombe. Ona ng'ombe gũcihe kana ngũkũ-rĩ, twaciheaga nĩ tondũ wa thĩna, tondũ rĩngĩ nĩ ithũkagia gũkũ magũrũ, igathũkia ng'ombe magũrũ, ona ngũkũ nĩ yaturia maru, nĩ yaremwo nĩ gũthiĩ. Babu ona ũngĩrora ciana citũ rĩu iria ithuĩ tũciarĩte nĩ ngucu magego nĩ kũguma nĩ agacu magego mao nĩ ma brown nĩ tondũ rĩngĩ ona tũmaĩ tũu wagĩra kũrĩa Ndaramĩya rĩ tũtiraigana no twa kũruga.
The 6T project, funded by the Rotary Foundation and its dedicated partners, is a beacon of hope focusing on 6 critical areas: training, trees, tanks, toilets, table banking, and transforming lives.
This project touches on almost all the areas of focus, but mainly it touches on water hygiene and sanitation. Then it has an element of protecting the environment through planting of trees and also the community economic development.
Rotary Foundation, which is a charity arm of the Rotary International. And it's an arm that actually funds for all activities that we do in terms of global grants and also activities like polio eradication, activities like emergency situations that we have in Ukraine and here in Kenya. One of the smallest projects was repair of a toilet within the community in Chicago, and that was a project. But then they also started receiving requests, and one of the requests was just to help a child through medical condition, and they had to give out $5,000. And they realized the needs that people were asking became more and more. So the trustees decided to do what? To decide and apportion some of the money towards grants. So it started small, but it has built up. Initially, it was matching grants, where the Rotary Foundation would say, okay, we have $30,000, give us a project that you can actually match with and make a grant. So it became a matching grant. And then later it developed into what we call the Rotary Global Grants. And they're global grants because they bring us into the world understanding, which is one of the special way of Rotarians, meeting other Rotarians from other countries. And became global because for you to be able to do it, you need to look into your community and identify what kind of project you want to do, what we call the needs assessment. And when you come up, for example, if your need is to have fresh water, and maybe you've been fetching water from a stream or the river, and you want to drill a borehole, that's a need. So you bring it to the Rotarians and say, we really need water, and we could actually have a borehole in our community. And the Rotarians will look at it, they'll come down, someone who deals with water hydrology will come up and measure and find out where can we do the borehole. And once it's identified, they'll write a small proposal saying, look, we have done hydrology, we have done a budget, we could actually have a borehole of about maybe 3 million, 4 million Kenya shillings. And that is written into a proposal, and it's submitted to the Rotary Foundation. It's reviewed in line with terms and conditions of doing grants. And of course, the basic conditions is it must be through a Rotary Club locally and a Rotary Club international. Other partners can come on board and say, we want to make contributions. It's welcomed. The minimum has been $30,000 US, it's about 3 million Kenya shillings. Maximum is 400,000, which you can do grants. It's not only water, you can do medical care, you can supply equipment, you can have a grant into microcredit facilities, you can actually install water tanks in the community.
When we go to the sponsor, like the Rotary Foundation, give them the money, because of the contribution by the community, the things I talked about, provided the labor, they provide them among the group, and they also provide the labor to pay for the artisan who build the tank. Their contribution should be much more than what they get from the Rotary Foundation. So the money we get from the Rotary Foundation is able to provide tanks for more people than it would have if the community contribution was not there.
Over the years, the project has scaled up in impact, and the numbers tell an incredible story. More than 7,000 water tanks constructed, a similar number of toilets installed, 20 shallow wells dug, 500,000 trees grown, and over 50,000 direct beneficiaries who have significantly improved their standard of living. Next, we visit the home of subsequent beneficiaries. Their stories reflect the profound transformation that the 60 project has brought into the lives of countless individuals.
Twarehirwo uhoro ucio wa matangi na ngiona ni wega tondu ndari na thina muingi muno ni ndatahaga mai na haha kianda ngoha mutuna mukwa munyitho-ini wa mutungi ngakururia ngarehe no kuma Rotary yoka haha ni ndianacoka itangi riu na rieka ati ndianacoka gutaha mai ringi na mutungi gukururia twacebaga ciringi 500. Twarĩkia ũcio 500 twaitĩra mũndũ ũmwe matirio, twaita kagoto, tũgaita handiko na tũgaita mũthanga o ũndũ ũmwe na mahiga. Twarĩkia ithuothe kũrĩkia ithuothe gũkorwo nĩ twaiguithania ũhoro wa gũita matirio macio nĩguo twacokire tũkĩreherwo matirio ma kuma kwa Rotary.
Rĩu tũnyuagĩra maĩ o hakuhĩ tũtegũthĩnĩka. Okorwo nĩ ng'ombe ũrenda kũhe maĩ tũtahaga o hau itangi-inĩ. Okorwo ningĩ nĩ ũhoro wa gũkĩhũra nguo, no Rotary no yatũteithirie tondũ tũhotaga rĩu kũhũra nguo mũndũ atekũiga nguo nyingĩ. Mahinda mangĩ tũigaga nguo nginya kiumia kĩgima nĩ gũthĩna nĩ maĩ. No twanjiunga na Rotary igĩtuĩka ũteithio witũ ũgĩtũteithia tũkĩhota kuma mathĩna-inĩ macio ma maĩ. Rĩu nĩ hinya mũno ige nguo cina gĩko tondũ maĩ marĩ hau hakuhĩ. Ũguo nĩ tũthiĩte na mbere, tũrĩuga no matũbundithia ũhoro ningĩ wa table banking nĩ matũrutire. Tũgĩtuĩka andũ megũkorwo tũgĩcĩba mbeca ũguo na nĩ matũteithĩtie kũigana Rotary.
This project, it's helping the Rotarians to reach the community so that you are able to make the mobilization and giving the full information on the Rotary project which is on that time. Basically,
Before a beneficiary gets a tank, there's a financial commitment. There's a contribution they make in cash of about 5,000. They're also expected to contribute locally available materials, which some of them they have to buy. So they are able to borrow money from the table banking, and majorly they come together, the women come together, they meet on a monthly basis, do small contributions where they are able to borrow from. Again, they also do what they call merry-go-round. So if it is your turn to get a tank, they do a merry-go-round where everybody contributes a particular amount and they put it together and then they're able to help you contribute.
They are divided into self-help groups and to women groups. So what happens on daily basis, you find members who have gathered, they have called you, come and train us on the 60s project. So these members you have to start from the scratch because you have to do the total mobilization of these members so that even others who are not there may come and start learning. After that, you have to join these members together. You have to know the goal of these members, why they have come together. From that, you have to direct them from where we start this project. You have to tell these members, because of our country bylaws, they must get registered by the government. After that, they have to register by the RCC where they are. From that, you have now to start training them on the bylaws, building their own bylaws or the constitution, which build each and every group, because constitutions of our groups, they are very different from one group to the other, which abides them. On daily basis, there are different types of training that we do. These members, they have to be trained on different types of trees which are supposed to be planted on different areas.
Essentially, all the beneficiaries are expected to be part of the table banking, but of course, over time, some of them get off. But at the moment, we can clearly state that about 3,000 community members, the women, are part of table banking, where they are contributing on a monthly basis towards their kitty.
In the past year, 2022, all over the world, the Rotary Foundation got over 450,000 million US dollars. This is the money that came from Rotarians, their friends, and the contributors to the foundation.
The Rotary Foundation is the arm that supports all what we do in the community. The community service project for Rotary, I think the Rotary Foundation is the arm that facilitates that. And it gets the money from me and you. So for me, what I would encourage Rotarians is let all the clubs in the District 9212 give something to the Rotary Foundation. Let us all donate.
And we have benefited over the years. And currently we have grants over 121 with a value of $11 million US. And when you look at it on the ground, you see there's a big impact. Right from Lodwar, in the northern part of Kenya, we have a global grant dealing with irrigation of farms done by the Rotary Club of Muthaiga, where they have actually supported families to rehabilitate their land into irrigation, to bring green economy in the area, to enable people to access nutritional food from greenhouses. Over 250 families have benefited. 250. That's a big impact. You go to Bole in Ethiopia, Rotary Club of Bole has established a hospital where we had surgeries for people who had medical conditions. Over 500 people benefited from that. Coming back even just here in Kenya, where we have recently, where we had the Rotary Club of Thika, they went to Masai Land and did eye surgeries. The impact of little money, we call it a district grant. A district grant is a small account of funds that we give to clubs and they're able to do their own projects. Rotary Club of Thika enabled over 70 elderly people rehabilitate their eyesight with a grant we gave them, which was about $1,500 US from a district grant. We have Rotary Club of Karen that recently closed a grant in western part of Kenya where they provided equipment worth 16 million Kenya shillings to equip a hospital for eye clinic and dental care for children, just children in Sabatia in western part of Kenya. That is a huge impact. Leave alone other areas like Nakuru where we have the water tanks and water harvesting, in Machakos where we have sand dams, and of course the vocational training team, which is another aspect of a grant where experts from a different country would travel to a different country and provide technical knowledge training. So Rotary Club of Karen had a program, a grant to train teachers in Machakos and Kitui. So we had experts from British Columbia who came to Kenya during the COVID and trained, just before COVID, and trained teachers in Kitui and Machakos. 30 teachers benefited from that. As a VTT, a vocational training program, you are expected that now the other team sends their expertise to the other country that had sent the other. That's an exchange to provide and promote world understanding. Our teachers from Nairobi, Kenya were not able to go. Why? Because of the COVID and extended period of COVID, but they actually used innovation of technology to train the teachers, and now 30 teachers have trained, they have certified, and through a global grant. And we have many others in South Sudan where we have access to water in a more rural area. In Mtwapa, coastal part of Kenya, where the Rotary Club of Mtwapa has actually rehabilitated a hospital and equipped it with equipment to enable the children and men and women to access medical care. You can talk of many. In Kenya and South Sudan and Ethiopia, we have 13% of all our global grants on water and sanitation, 11% on disease prevention, 10% on maternal care, 1% on environment, because it's a new one that people have not actually ventured into. And then we have, of course, microcredit and community development, which are very few, like 5%. But the uptake is big, the impact is huge on the ground.
There are other things that have happened to the communities. By building their capacity in terms of resource mobilization, they have moved on to other projects. One of the projects that they have done, many of them lived in mud-walled houses. They have migrated to stone-built houses, block-built houses. How do they do that? When they were mobilizing resources for the tanks, they realized that their capacity is unlimited. So once they got the tank, they asked themselves, what else are we going to do? Through their same leadership, they said, can we get this into our self-help groups and make sure that they keep on working on this? So a certain group maybe decides to do an income generating activity like the dairy goats, another one decides to do something else. But at a personal level, they also now get the idea like, if I can save, I can do this. Let me just give a brief on how the tank is built. When they want to build maybe like 20 tanks or 14 tanks for that matter, you imagine that they need only 1 ton of ballast. If you have to do that tank yourself, it will be very expensive because you can't go to a quarry just to buy that material. But the power of the group comes in and the group dynamics comes in here. They'll go for a 14-ton lorry of ballast, bring it to the field, and then distribute to each member who is ready for a tank, a ton each. The same for hardcore. The only main components that they have got to produce to bring to their sites is the stone blocks, because they need to do 300 feet. The 300 feet now they get a lorry that can bring 600. So half is done here, half is done there. What does that do? It brings in economies of scale, and that way they're able to deliver the project, or maybe whatever they intended to do with a lesser cost. Another thing, when they are doing this project, the Rotary contributes about 49%. 51% is done in terms of local materials. But if you go to the community, how they does that, through their table banking, they raise the resources. We want, these stones are going to go to Mama so-and-so. These things are going to go to this other person. So can we all raise that? So they make sure that they are going to get to the people, the people. Since these tanks were started in 2002, we have done several matching grants with different organizations or maybe different Rotary clubs. But then the end result has always been the same. The community has benefited. The multiplier effect is seen much more later, not just when they are doing it. Because the things they learn, when they start implementing them, you'll see them maybe 10 years down the line. There are some communities that have taken their children to school. There are others who have now said, I've moved from this point to this point. And even now some of them are saying, our group has completed the tanks, we each have a house, now we want to go to something else. That one has also brought other ideas, and we are birthing a project like where we want to do biogas. If you go to most of these homes, like this one behind us here, they have a cow pen. And most of them, because the smallholder units now are becoming smaller by the day, they are doing zero grazing. So we also want to capitalize on that, because we realized that when we wanted them to plant 100 trees, they are starting to cut down the trees. Why are they cutting them down? Because they need fuel. Yet they have a lot of dung into the neighborhood. One thing you'll notice, like in this boma where we are, it's very clean, because they have had a training on water health and hygiene sanitation. So the sanitation in each and every compound that you go to, they try to maintain their compound to a certain standard. So those are some of the small things that we leave behind. Whereas we have done our work as the Rotary Club of Nakuru, the RCCs have supported us, but the buy-in into the community has also made it sure that some of the things that we do outlast us. The people who founded this project in 2002, some of them are not there anymore, but the project is still going on. People who may want to replicate this project wherever they are, it means that first of all you have to organize the communities. Maybe start with one RCC, 2, 3 RCCs, because there are clubs who have them and the others that don't have them. But it becomes the main instrument. It's like the group we have around here, they organized and they were able to do a project for their school.
We managed to construct 2 tanks, which is 30,000 liters each. We also managed to construct latrine block, and we also managed to plant quite a number of trees here in this school.
The most exciting bit of this project, and what I see as a major contributor of success, is the buy-in from the beneficiaries. You realize that the formation of these groups, the flow of these groups, and the activities that are following up, is that there's a lot of buy-in in the community. So that brings us back to where the project starts. Like we say, the projects don't go wrong, they just start wrong. So what I can say about this project is that it has a lot of buy-in. The members here look like they feel it. The RCC here is owning the project. And we thank the Nakuru Rotarian for the support and also conceiving the idea and making sure that the people buy the idea.
Global grant starts from actually the conceptualization. The fact that you go to the community to find out the needs, you are already putting what we call, you are actually implying that you want actually to be part of this particular project. And once the funds have been approved and the grant has been awarded, in the grant proposal, they ask you who is going to be an expert, who is going to observe the implementation of this project. So it becomes a monitoring and evaluation person who is right from the beginning, from the time you actually start implementing. This person is already observing, are you following up on what you set on your template when you proposed? any stage of implementation, this person has to come in and just see that you are actually complying to the grant implementation. At the end of the implementation, when you have implemented the grant, you have actually exhausted the spending, it's like zero, money has gone into the project, the monitoring and evaluation person has to come on board and do an assessment to see that is the grant value commensurate to the outcome. You put in 3 million, you drill a borehole of 3 million. Is the borehole actually producing worth amount of water that you really wanted, commensurate the money you put in? Is the community satisfied? Are the people owning it? Are they going to sustain it? You give that report as a monitoring and evaluation. And it's not at the end of the project closure. You go on for the next 6 months and another 6 months to observe after the implementation. What is the impact? After 6 months, you give an impact report that when this grant was actually implemented, this is 6 months down the line, this is the impact. They always expect us for 3 years, we give a feedback to the foundation. And that feedback is actually given by the monitoring and evaluation officer.
We will not be where we are. It is through Rotary Foundation that other Rotarians got to know what was happening, had been happening in Nakuru. And it has really changed the people's life here. Honestly, initially I didn't know that there can be transformation by providing 10,000 liter water harvesting tank. But over 20 years, I've witnessed that with my personal experience.
It is our foundation, it is me and you, it belongs to us.
The Rotary Global Grants can fund any project.
Fiction. Rotary Global Grants funds projects within the 7 areas of focus.
Only members of Rotary can access global grants.
Fact. Rotary grants are given to Rotary clubs within the hosting country and the international partner.
The Rotary Foundation has a 4/4 rating on the Charity Navigator.
Fact. In fact, it's the only charity that has been in the Navigator for the past over 3 years.
The Rotary Foundation is funded by donations.
Fact. The donations are coming from the Rotarians who give through contributions, the annual fund, and Polio Plus.
There is a minimum amount that one is allowed to contribute to the Rotary Foundation.
Fact. There is a minimum amount that you can give, at least $5, because of the exchange rates. We give a contribution to the Rotary Foundation through dollars. So the minimum you can give is $5. If you give less than that, even transaction alone won't manage.
Rotary members implement a global grant project in the community alone.
That's fiction. Rotary members are to work with the local community, with the Rotary Community Corps, and together with the community members, implementing corporations and other Rotarians.
As we come to the end of our journey into the 6T Global Grant Project by the Rotary Club of Nakuru in Rotary District 9212, we encourage you to stay in tune with Rotary's mission. If you have been inspired and want to learn more about the Rotary Foundation and the Global Grants Program, or would like to make a donation to the Rotary Foundation, please do so on the link below. Also stay in touch with other episodes of Tagline by subscribing to our channel, where we continue to unveil Rotary District 9212.